Thanks for joining us on What Matters This Week this Sunday. I'm Lauren Maloney. I am joined here by Jeff Behler. He's the Regional Director of the New York Regional Census Center. So I gave it away in there. We're talking about Census 2020, and it's January. Some people would say we have a long way to go, but you say no.
Census is here.
You're hitting the ground running.
That's absolutely. Really, the beginning of the census is March 12th. The week of March 12th is when we're going to be mailing out invitations or hand-delivering invitations in certain rural areas to every household, asking them to either to go online to fill out their census, to call their information in over the phone, or if they receive a paper questionnaire, to fill it out and mail it back in.
Okay. And this happens every 10 years or so,
Yep.
but people have forgotten. So it's been a little while. What are the important things that you need people to know if maybe they weren't old enough to take part in the census 10 years ago, or don't remember what they did?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a conversation that we like to have with our local partners and trusted voices, and that the census is safe, the census is easy, and the census is important. And for the safe piece of that, Title 13 is a federal law that was put in place in 1954 that basically protects every piece of data that we collect. Data, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, federal law enforcement can never access our data at a person or household level at any time for any reason. ICE and Homeland Security can never access our data at any time for any reason. Title 13 protects data from being released at the person or household level. So when we release data, it's at a city level, a census tract level, a county level, a state level. It's never at a person or household level. In addition, everyone who works on a census, if they were to release information that could potentially identify an individual or household, they'll be imprisoned for up to 5 years, fined up to $250,000. So the public needs to understand and know that the census is safe.
You can understand, though, that there is some maybe intrepidation for some people about wanting to take part. There was that whole situation, as we said, maybe 6 to 8 months ago, about whether citizenship would be a question on the census, and that's not going to be the case anymore.
That's
so
correct.
What is your message to those people who may hesitate?
Yeah, we like to focus, again, that the census is safe. Remind them that there's federal law in place that protects every piece of data that they give us. And by law, that data cannot be used against them for harm for any reason. The other thing we like to focus on is the important piece of that conversation. Over $675 billion of federal funding is disseminated every year based upon formulas that use census data. This is money for our infrastructure, for schools, for healthcare, for education. And for every person that chooses not to fill it out or that's missed in the 2020 census, their community will receive less funding for the next 10 years. We get one opportunity to get it right.
And do you have numbers, statistics that point to just how states did in 2010 when it came to the amount of people who answered?
We do. We have a great tool called the ROAM, the Response Outreach Area Mapper. It's on our website, 2020census.gov. It'll show you census tract by census tract, almost neighborhood by neighborhood, what we think are the challenges in getting a complete and accurate census in 2010. So we know the fastest growing undercounted group in 2010 were children under the age of 5. Families weren't including their children under the age of 5. So we need to get the word out there. It's part of our messaging, our communications campaign, our partnership campaign, to let people know that everyone needs to be counted.
Everyone in the household.
Everyone in the household. We don't care about citizenship status, whether you're here legally or illegally. If you're living in the United States as of April 1st, 2020, you need to be counted.
So that's why it's important to make sure minors, whether or not you're 18, that's not a part of it.
That's correct. Everyone should be counted.
Okay. So the first couple of dates you said March
12th.
Okay.
The week of March 12th is when it really kicks off. It's when our online system goes live. So basically 3 ways you can self-respond in 2020. Online for the first time ever nationwide. You can respond in English and 12 non-English languages. In addition, this will be the first time a household can actually call into us to give their information over the phone. Again, supported by English and 12 non-English languages. We'll have a dedicated toll-free number. All that information will come in that first packet that comes out during the week of March 12th. In addition, certain locations will receive a paper questionnaire right away in that packet that comes in March 12th. If you don't receive a paper questionnaire, you don't need to call us, you don't need to write us. If you want to fill it out via paper, you're not comfortable going online or calling in over the phone, we will automatically mail you a paper questionnaire in early April if you have yet to respond to the 2020 census.
Okay. But you do door knock too, and some people get weary of that. When do I answer? Is this person legitimate? When should we expect door knock, or when will you go out there into the streets with the public?
Yeah, the majority of locations throughout the United States, we're going to start knocking on doors in mid-May of this year. In college areas, and Burlington as a campus, we try to go to off-campus locations where students may live, apartment complexes, maybe they're renting a home. We go there in early April. We want to catch them before they leave for the summer semester.
Okay.
Or after the spring semester ends, because college students need to be counted where they usually live or stay.
All right, that's what I was going to ask you. Do their parents count them? Do they count themselves? How does that work with college students?
So for college students, if they live in a dormitory as part of the college or university, we have a special operation called group quarters, where we will work directly with administration of that dormitory to make sure students get counted.
Okay.
If they live off campus, it's going to be up to them when they get the package in the mail, whether they live in an apartment or renting a home, to make sure that whoever opens that package and all the roommates that live within that particular apartment or housing unit complex, make sure they all put their information on the form, whether they go online, whether they call it in, or whether they fill it out on paper.
So mom and dad don't count them?
That's correct.
Okay, that was important to know.
It is.
Very good. Okay. You had mentioned that some areas will automatically get a paper questionnaire right away. How do you factor in states like Vermont, where there is such rural areas, like the Northeast Kingdom? Is that the areas that will get the paper questionnaire right away? How do you figure that in?
Yeah, and we have a great tool out there called the Mail Contact Viewer Strategy tool. It's, again, available on 2020census.gov. It'll show you neighborhood by neighborhood, census tract by census tract, how we're inviting those community members to respond. So typically when we talk about giving that questionnaire out, roughly 20% of the nation will get a paper questionnaire in that first mail out. These are areas with very little or very poor internet connectivity, maybe a high population of elderly citizens, or where we have historical data that shows us that for some of the other surveys that we conduct, we have a very low internet response. So we're going to target those areas right away with the paper questionnaires. And everyone else, again, if a household wants to fill it out on paper, they will get that opportunity. It's just they may not get that opportunity until April.
What else did you learn from 2010 that incorporated some of the changes right now?
We're really excited about the internet. So I guess partnership was a huge success in 2010, and we've only built upon that in 2020. Our media campaign was very successful in 2010, and we built upon that in 2020. Social media, we know that's something we didn't have, as heavy as it was, as it is now, as it was in 2010. So we know we need to build upon, especially given this current environment, a lot of mistrust of federal government or government at every level. We really need to work with our trusted voices, whether that's an elected official, whether that's your church leader, whether that's your favorite restaurant owner, community-based organization, a YMCA or a youth organization. We need to work with them to arm them with the knowledge that they need to share the message with their community that the census is safe, that it's easy, and how so important it is for the next 10 years for every community.
Okay. You mentioned the time frame a little bit. You said May is when some of the non-response follow-up may happen.
That's correct.
When's the ultimate deadline that you need to hear from people?
End of July. So end of July is when they'll take the online system down, when they'll stop accepting phone calls, paper forms that come in late, and we're going to stop knocking on doors at the end of July. And the important thing to point out, regardless of when you fill out your census, whether that's the week of March 12th or whether that's early July, we're asking about the household as of April 1st, 2020. We're really taking a snapshot in time. Okay. Who lived at this address as of April 1st, 2020.
Okay, good to know. Also, a lot of people might have heard that you're hiring.
Yes.
Okay.
We need help.
All right. So how does this work, and how many jobs are out there in Vermont?
Yeah. So we have a saying that even though the census is a national event, in order to be successful, it has to be conducted at the local level. So if we're going going to go into neighborhoods, if we're going to knock on doors, we want people who speak that language, who understand the culture, who really understand what the challenges are within that community. And that's why we need to hire across the state of Vermont, and that's what we're doing right now. Our recruiting goal for 2020 in the state of Vermont is 9,000 people. We'll probably have between 3,000 and 4,000 jobs. We always recruit more than what we need because there is a massive amount of turnover. The majority of positions on the census are short-term temporary jobs. And the great thing about these jobs are you choose what hours you can work. We basically ask you for the next 5 days what days and what hours you can work. You give us your hours and we're going to match that. We're going to give you a workload that will make you successful. Okay. So if you want to pay off some holiday bills, if you're planning a summer vacation, you want to earn some extra money, we're telling people don't quit your job. Keep your 40-hour-a-week job. Come work for us nights and weekends. Work for us weekends only. Apply now at 2020census.gov/jobs, and you'll be considered one application, and you're considered for all the operations that we're conducting in 2020.
What type of jobs are out there?
The majority of the jobs are enumerators or door knockers. And I should have mentioned $20 an hour is what we're paying. Paid training, mileage reimbursement while on official duty. So it really is a good paying job. We do have some office positions available, clerical and supervisory positions. We also have some positions in the field that are supervisory. And the great thing, the majority of these positions are really work from home. So you're working in your own community. When you're trained, we're going to train you in your own community, working with partners in your own community, knocking on doors in your own community.
Okay. How are you then on getting to where you need to be staff-wise in Vermont?
Yeah, so we're about 40% of where we need to get to. Our recruiting's going to end sometime in mid to late March. So we're out there now, every opportunity we get talking about the census, the importance of it, but also talking about opportunities with jobs. We're working with local community-based organizations like churches and YMCAs. They're hosting recruitment events to make it easy for their residents, their community members to come in and apply for a job. Again, to apply for a job, it's easy. It's formatted for a smartphone or a tablet if you want to do it online at home. You don't have to come to an event to apply. And again, that's 2020census.gov/jobs.
Anything else that I missed that you think is really important that we need to get out there?
Yeah, no, again, please, we're looking for everyone to have that conversation. When we talk about an undercount in communities, a very simplistic example, think of a school of 100 kids. And let's say 80 of those kids get counted in the 2020 census. For the next 10 years, that school is going to receive 80% of the funding it deserves. And it doesn't just affect those 20 kids who weren't counted, it affects all 100. Now you apply that to your community, and whether that's roads or mass transportation, whether that's food stamps, whether that's SNAP or TANF or WIC or elderly care or health centers. If we don't get a complete and accurate count in 2020, it's going to adversely affect the community for the next 10 years regarding the funding and regarding your representation. So it's important. We have one opportunity every 10 years to get this right. We're looking for everyone who's out there who's a trusted voice, whether you're talking to your family, whether you're talking to your coworkers. Let them know that the census is safe, that it's easy, the different ways you can respond, and how important it is for the next 10 years.
Okay. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back on What Matters This Week.